All right, in this video, I want to show you how to make a dashboard. And if you've been watching this channel for any period of time, you might be thinking, wait, Doug, you've already shown us how to make several dashboards. And that's true, but I want to show you how to make some more. And this time we're going to use a couple of different tools that we haven't used much on my channel before. So we're going to walk through how to do all of this inside of a mostly Astra using the Spectra block builder component add-on. And I'm going to show you a couple different designs. This one being the what I call the quote main dashboard hub that I'm currently using on my membership site. I'm going to show you then how to add a component to that has like a subpage dashboard navigation like you see here on the left. Again, this is what I'm using on my site. And then I'm going to show you how to do something more like this, which is like a full screen dashboard that you could use just about anywhere you want. Maybe have it be in your entire membership site. And you can adjust various things. Like you can notice across all of these, they have the same header, which is why in this particular case, the logo here isn't full width. If I were using this, I would do that. But this one is more of a sidebar component with a middle section that's dynamic. And what I like about this design is that as you scroll, we've locked in this bottom component here that has the support and my account sections while leaving everything else scrolling. So a couple different designs. I'm going to show you how we approach all three of them. So let's get started. The first place to get started is going to be this navigation. It's very easy to do inside of the standard primary header builder inside of the traditional theme Astra. If you go to the customizer, you can edit the header here, and you'll see that there are various heading options here in the bottom section, and all these options here on my right hand side, the menu here, and then the two icons in the button, they're all just added here inside of this section. This little, they're not widgets, but I guess they are widgets. But you'll see these little plus symbols, and if you click on them, you can build various things like menus, and you can build in widgets, and the widgets you can build using the block builder. So let me show you a couple of those real quick. The button 1, I guess is what I've called it here, is the dashboard button. It's just a very simple button, and it has some design options on the left. The widget 1 here is my community button, and on the left-hand side, you can say I can select components here, and with the 3 dots, you can click show more settings, and it kind of just continually uses this left sidebar. So you can see that it's just simply an icon with a rounded background with a color so that it stands out on my header color, and it's given a URL to my community. The account button is actually a feature for the Astra header section. And this is pretty neat because it pulls in the avatar of the user, the gravatar of the logged in user, in which this case you're seeing my logo there because I'm logged in. And then I've added a my account and log out section for this account section. And again, all those options here are on the left, such as whether you want it to be an avatar, text, or an icon, what you want to have happen, whether you want it to be a menu like I have here in the top right, or if you'd rather it just be a link, and then whether it shows on hover or click, various other design options there. And then the toggle button, this used to be called, or maybe it still is called, like a hamburger menu. If I click on that, I've created one that just slides out from the right-hand side. Those are all here under the design options, as well as this off-canvas section here in the bottom, just to the left of the header navigation. Conceptually exactly the same as the others. You have the ability to add widgets. When you click on them, it just uses this little like block builder-esque component. So you can see I added the word navigation, and then I just use an off-canvas menu with some very minimal design options. So that's the header. You can design yours to look like whatever you want, and it uses nothing but the traditional Astra header builder. Very streamlined, very straightforward. The 3 main dashboard designs that I showed you are all accessed and built inside of the Astra site builder. If you are not familiar with the Astra site builder, go into the back end of your WordPress, go to Astra here on the left-hand side, and click on Site Builder. Inside of Site Builder, you can click this Create New button, and the option that I've chosen for my dashboards is single. They are single page layouts. Let's go ahead and tackle the primary dashboard first. It's like the dashboard hub. So I'll click on Edit. I'm going to show you what I've built here and how I've built it so that you can easily replicate it. So the first thing that I do in most of my dashboard pages is create a login component so that no one can see anything on the page unless they're logged in. To accomplish that here, if we open up the list view on the left-hand side, you can see I have 2 containers. One is called container, which I should rename right now. You can click the 3 dots as you saw there, and I can create login section. So I have my login section here, and then my other container is right below it, and that is my dashboard, basically what I showed you before. The login section is built with this container, and then I have an inner container that has 2 subcontainers. They are the container on the left, the one on the right. The one on the left contains just a simple login form. If I add an element here and I just search for login, I'm using the blue colored login form. I don't know if that is a Spectra one. Let's go down here. This is built using the Spectra Pro login form. It works really well. It's very streamlined, very simplistic, but it has decent customization. So with it selected on the right-hand side, under General, you can update some placeholder stuff. You can choose to show hide icons, show registration info. The login button's customizable. And then what I like are these redirect options for after login and after logout. And then some basic styling that's pretty much similar across all of the Spectra blocks. The other side of this Flex container column here is another container that has just information about my All-Access Pass in case somebody lands on a page or comes to my membership site and isn't a member. They can simply learn about the program, click the button to learn more. Now, the key to what makes this work is a form of conditional display. If I select my login section on the right-hand side, go to Advanced, and then go to Display Conditions here, it's a little drop down, you set the display condition for the user state to hide from logged in users, so they never see this login form. The inverse of that is if they're not logged in, they see it. The main background section, I've done the same thing. I've gone to Advanced, and then I've chosen to hide it from logged out users, meaning you would have to be logged in order to see it. So everything inside of this main background container is only visible if logged in. And then actually building this dashboard itself is fairly simple. It uses mostly just containers with flex properties. So I have a main background section here for the dashboard. Inside of that, I have my top panel, which is this panel here. Expanding out the left-hand side list view, I have 3 containers. The first container is the avatar. If I select on that, it's just a very standard block. It's going to pull in the avatar for the logged in user. Again, there's mine because I'm logged in. The second block here contains an info box, which is a Spectra block. The info box I have set for the content to have an enabled title, which is hey, comma, and then I click on this text here, and I've chosen the dynamic content to be the user first name. That's pretty easy to do. And then inside the info box, I have also chosen to enable a description, which I've just put welcome to your dashboard. One thing to note, one of my main critiques about the block builder in general is there seems to be this odd spacing here between hey Doug and welcome to your dashboard. And then the third container just has another info box, and that info box is just a title and an image and an icon. Just chosen like a user icon, and I put my account, and then I chose for the call to action, which is again here on the right hand side under general, to be the complete box, meaning wherever they click on the icon or the words, it'll take them to my customer dashboard page, which I'll show you in a second. So really all that we've done here is put containers under other containers, and then the key is the flex property. So I'm going to show you that really quickly. Let's select our top panel here, this blue section. Inside of our top panel, if I go to the general section on the right and then go to flex properties, in here you can see there's a section called direction. That means that anything added as a child of the top panel, meaning inset or underneath the top panel, will expand and grow out to the right. So with these 3 containers, they are going to be added 1, 2, 3 and expand out to the right. That's what this right here under direction means. For the align items, all of the items inside of the top panel will be aligned center in terms of the vertical alignment. For justifying the content, I've chosen to justify everything left. And then for the wrap, I've just left that as no wrap. Okay, so now that we know they're growing out to the right and I had 3, how do I make them not be all equal sizes? So if I select each of the individual containers inside of the top panel, I can go to layout, and right here where it says custom width, I've adjusted, for example, on the avatar container, I've adjusted a custom width of 100 pixels, meaning I never need that avatar to be bigger than 100 pixels. And then for the container with the info box that has like the welcome, I've chosen to make that 100%. And then the third container, I've chosen to make that 170 pixels. So this third container containing the My Account is 170 pixels. It won't be greater than that. So what does this mean? Well, these 2 on the far ends have a set width, and the one in the middle is just going to take up whatever space remains. Pretty simple. All that does is it keeps this container here over to the right, this container here over to the left, and all the space gets taken up in the middle. So with that brief tutorial on how Flex kind of works in this situation, you can see then the same thing happens with our main panel. If I open up my main panel, you can see here I have my card navigation. I just called it card navigation. Again, if you notice, it's just a bunch of containers. And inside those containers is just an image and a heading. And those are all Spectra blocks. And in this case, a container for the card, I've called it a card. This card container here, I've just gone to Flex Properties. And instead of like the top section choosing to grow to the right, I've chosen to have them expand downward, meaning anything I add inside each of these little containers will be stacked vertically. That's why with the image and the heading, there's one on top of the other. Watch what briefly happens if I chose to go row instead of column with this. You can see instantly the icon or image here goes to the left with the heading to the right, but if I choose to go downward, that's what happens. Now the next section of my dashboard is a continue course progress section. I have all of my courses inside of Thrive Apprentice, and Thrive Apprentice does not necessarily integrate with the block builder all too well. It has its own ecosystem, works incredibly well with Thrive Architect. I have so many videos on my channel that go into those details, but for this particular setup, we need to do a workaround. So if I come down here to the Continue Course Progress section, you'll see that there is on the left a block here called Content. To get that block, we open up our block inserter and search for content. And you can see here that it says displays, I'm just hovering over it and reading what pops out here on the right-hand side, displays the content of a post or page. Let me remind you that this is being built using the site builder. I'm not actually at this point building a page. I'm building think of it like a layout, like a template for pages to use to respect. So if I were to assign a page to use this template, all of these components so far that I've shown you, this top section, these cards, this would all be, think of it like hard-coded and baked into the template. If I were to make changes to any page using this template, the only thing on that page, the only place that content could possibly go is within this content section here. So the nice thing about that, if I go over to my Thrive Apprentice section here, and I click Edit Page, you can see that the main dashboard hub is actually built using Thrive Architect. So if I edit this using Thrive Architect, this page, again, I'm editing the page and not the site builder template, the only place where I can add content is right here in the middle. And all I've done is added a Thrive Apprentice course list and customized it into this section here. If I were to open up my element tray, let's just drag something like a button. I can add a button nowhere except within the boundaries of that content block that I added inside of my site builder design or layout. So now here we are looking at that section. Anything on the page that's customized will appear here, because this is the only place within a page where content can go in this template. So what I've essentially done is I've built a dashboard in Astra with Spectra that is compatible with any page built in Thrive Architect, so long as I'm okay with that content only going right here. And it works perfectly within this case because the only thing that I needed to build on the actual dashboard hub page itself was just a way for people to continue progress on the courses that they've been taking. Let's come back here and keep going. So we have our next section, which is the latest office hours. This is actually incredibly easy to build. On my website, I do posts. So if I come back in here on my membership site, you can see that I just have tons and tons of office hours, over a year's worth of office hours, and a new one goes up every week. So when a new one goes up, all that means is I've added another post to my website. And if I click into one of these, it loads as a post where I have the office hours video, someone can download the audio, or someone can listen to the audio on like an audio player. So now knowing that this was built with just blog posts, to show that, all I did was add a loop builder, which is a Spectra Pro block that allows you to build a loop, which is just a funny way of saying like a list of your posts or a list of post types. So all I did with my loop is I just added a loop builder, and I chose it to show for content only office hours in case I ever added any other kind of post to my membership site. And it's only going to show, if I go to the wrapper here, it's going to have 3 columns, and under layout and under general layout, I'm only going to show 3 posts per page. I'm only going to show the latest 3 here. And if they want more, they can always navigate to the office hour replays section, which is right here, that houses all of the replays. All right, so that is it for let's come back here, come back to our dashboard. That is it for the dashboard, quote unquote, hub, the main dashboard page itself. I've chosen to include a quick link to courses, community, which takes them over to my community platform, an office hour replays, a section for downloads, my account, course progress that they've been making, and the latest office hour replays. Very clean, very easy to navigate. Now, if I were to go into one of these subsections here, for example, my courses, this is a different layout. This uses what I have put in the site builder called the dashboard subpage. The dashboard subpage, even simpler. If I edit the dashboard subpage, you can see I have the exact same login section at the top. So if someone were to access, for example, this page and not be logged in, then they're going to be prompted to log in using this. So I don't need to show you that again, but I will show you the main background section. Very, very straightforward. All I have here is a main background panel again, and within that main panel background, I used flex properties to make things grow to the right here. I have a side panel, and I have a dynamic content panel that I've called it. That's just what I named it. And within there's that content block again. So any page that uses this site builder template will show the content only in this right-hand column. On the left-hand sidebar here are links that they can click on. And yes, you guessed it. Once again, simplistically built using containers and flex properties. Within each of these containers is an info box. And each of these info boxes then is stylized with a container to give it a white background, a little bit of a border, some rounded corners. And each info box is just an icon and a title. And to make this function, the call to action for the info box is the complete box, and it just links off to the different places that I want people to go. Now I know that I've gone through really quickly and said, look how I've made it. I've just showed you it's a bunch of content boxes, but instead of sitting there watching me just drop content boxes onto the page, I wanted you to see how easy it is for all of it to come together using just a handful of different blocks, and it makes something that looks reasonably nice. So on the front end, again, this is what that looks like. Again, this is just adding a hover effect to various components. And this is just the content from this particular page here on the right-hand side. This would be a good time to cover how do we determine which pages use these layouts. We've built our layouts or our templates. Now how do we make a page use it? Well, that's really easy. Let's just go back into our primary dashboard for a second here. And in the top right Astra icon, if you click on that, you can see here that if you go to display and user conditions, a window pops up and you can see that I've chosen for this dashboard to only display on a page called the dashboard main hub. If I come into the back end of my pages and I find my page here called dashboard main hub, you can see that this is the front page of my website. This is also what I've classified as my Thrive Apprentice login page. I have whole videos on that. And so this on my membership subdomain, members.convology.com, is the login form that comes up. So if I come to members.convology.com, this is what they see. This is literally that exact same template and the exact same page that I showed you. And as we talked about, only the logged out components are showing because I'm logged out. And if I put in some testing credentials here and I click login, you get a little message that says you have successfully logged in. And here we go. The dashboard came up and you can see this demo account just has one course that I've made progress on. And I can see the latest office hours and things like that. And I'm now logged in and able to access all the different components of my dashboard experience. And again, I went to my courses page and here is the courses that I've purchased on this sub account. And if I go to also available, I can see all the other courses. And even here in the top right, you can see that this test account, I think it was some variation of an alias on my email, doesn't have a gravatar, so it uses the gravatar placeholder, which I think also works really, really well. Okay, last but not least, I did want to show you that final section, that dashboard full screen demo. I've gotten lots of questions on how to do something like this. If I bring this up, interestingly enough, it's kind of hard to see with the list view expanded. I've shared one grievance that I have with the block builder having inconsistent spacing on the back end and the front end. Another grievance that I have with it is that if I were to expand out the list view, it shrinks everything up. It just looks super condensed. It is what it is, right? So if I close this though, you get a better sense for the fact that this is, like we've talked about, a sidebar right here. I have my sidebar and I have my main content area with a content block inside of it, meaning I can use this template on any page on my website and render a full screen dashboard like this. And in this particular case, this right-hand side component is just a page built in Thrive Architect that shows my course list, and the template was applied to that page, but only the stuff in the middle is what shows because only this stuff in the middle is what's inside of this content block. I have that same exact login state. This time I put it on the bottom and not on the top. Makes no difference because it just hides and shows based on the login state. So let's dive in just a little bit more here. On the sidebar, if I go to my dashboard sidebar, I want to show you some interesting tips here. So our dashboard sidebar is comprised of two components. I have a top of the sidebar, which encompasses the welcome, and the first or the top components. If I go to my full screen demo here, you can see there's this split. There's the welcome with the top part, and there's this bottom part. Coming back over here, this is it broken out into containers. So with our container on the left here, I have the welcome, another little heading piece. I'll show you this detail section in a minute. Ignore that for now. That's actually a mobile hack that I'll show you. And then I have the icon list. It's just an icon list, which is a Spectra block. And I've given each of these list items a name and each of the list items a URL link. Very, very straightforward. Now, what's interesting is this second section that I have called floating bottom. If I expand that out, it's just another icon list. But here is the trick. The floating bottom container, if I go to the advanced section on the right, and I go down to the sticky section, I drop that down. I've toggled on sticky container. I've chose to sticky it to the bottom. That gives us this effect. As I scroll, you can see that the support and my account options there, which is just an icon list, stays on the bottom. That's cool. That's straightforward. What's a little bit less straightforward, only a little bit, is how do I maintain this gap here between the two? And how do I align this list on the bottom? Very easy to do using flex properties. So if I come back to my dashboard sidebar, the entirety of the sidebar, this is just a container here. Inside of this container, if I go to the general section on the right sidebar, and I go to flex properties, let's take a look at what's happening here. Everything is growing in a column, aka growing downward, just like the arrows. If I look at aligning my items, they are aligned center within this section here. And the section, by the way, I'll show you in a second, I've given it a specific width here. I'll just do it now. I've told it that the custom width should be 20%. So this sidebar will be 20% of the screen. So it's aligned center there. Now, here's the key. Under justify content, I've chosen to space between. You can kind of see by this image here, it almost looks like our sidebar with the top of the sidebar up and the bottom of the sidebar down. What this will do is it will take all of the components and try to put even space between them and align them to the top and the bottom. If I had 3 items, I would have an item at the top, an item in the middle, and an item down below. And they would be stretched across the entirety of the column. In this case, I just have my 2 components. I'll collapse them here on the left-hand side so we can see them again. I have my top of sidebar. There we go. It has like a blue outline around it, which has the welcome and the rest of the navigation at the top. And I have my floating bottom, which has just the 2 items down below. And so with that flex property set there, it's going to put the top at the top and the bottom at the bottom. Now I want to show you just a couple other settings that kind of make this possible here. The first one being, how do I get this left column to be so tall? That's pretty easy to do. We just select our main page container. Again, that's the container that houses both my sidebar and my main content area. I just select that and I choose to make the minimum height. I've chosen to make it 90 vertical height units. An inaccurate but easy way to think of this is percentage. I want it to be 90% of the screen. It's the best way that I have found to think of it. And I've chosen to enable the equal height toggle so that all items will stretch to be equal height. And then under flex properties here, I've chosen here this stretch option. And for align items, children width equal, which is kind of irrelevant because if we go to the layout, you remember I've made one 20%, which means the other one was 80%. And then under justify content, align left for the flex start. Everything pushes left so that all of this aligns to the hard left-hand side of the monitor. And again, the direction for the main container is row, meaning it's going to grow left to right, left column, main column. Last little things to show you here. This is often kind of like a hidden one. It's maybe the third grievance I have with the block builder is that under style, if you want to like adjust layouts, you have to do multiple clicks, right? So you go to the style section on the right, then you go to spacing, and then you've exposed your settings. If you're familiar with a tool like Elementor, it's similar in that you have to make multiple clicks to find things, but if you're using a tool like Thrive Architect, one of my preferred page builders, you don't have to be making all these clicks. It's just in the left sidebar. Just a little nuance of the editor. The workflow is not fantastic in the block builder, but if we go to style, spacing, it's 2 clicks. You can see that I have chosen the column gap to be 40 pixels. The column gap is, in this case, for the main page container. It's the gap between our left sidebar container and our main content area container. So really, that is it when it comes to building these dashboards. Again, whether you're wanting to go with something that's very simplistic, like a simple dashboard navigation to use on a sub page of your dashboard, or if you want to go with a kind of like a full screen, full contained dashboard look and feel, or if you wanted to build kind of like a hub for people to log into and a main place for them to go to before they go deeper within your community or within your membership or your course site. All 3 of these designs were built using the Site Builder tool from Astra Site Builder. If you're interested in getting more personalized help and support, consider joining our All-Access Pass. It's a membership here, and I'll go ahead and put a link to that down below in the description or the first comment, where you can access all of the courses, workshop trainings, accelerators. We've got some really cool stuff coming this year, and a community where you can get unlimited support from me to help you get unstuck in your business, as well as getting access to our weekly office hours. So I hope that was helpful to you. If you're interested in more, stick around, check out the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.